Today on The Explainer, we're diving into a story about Uttarkashi, a stunningly beautiful mountain region that was suddenly shattered by an incredible, devastating force. It's really a story about two things: the raw power of nature and, what happens when people are pushed to their absolute breaking point. So just try to picture it, right? Life in these gorgeous valleys of Uttarkashi, it's just flowing along, kind of like the river itself. You've got tourists enjoying the scenery, local families just living their lives, with absolutely no idea of the fury that was about to be unleashed. And then, bam! In an instant, everything changes. This torrential force just explodes onto the scene, turning the entire landscape into something out of a nightmare. One person who was there said it became a city made of water. I mean, can you even imagine that? So, look, to really get what was lost here, we have to understand what was there to begin with. And really, it was a valley of peace. In villages like Dharali and Harsil, life had this beautiful rhythm to it, flowing right alongside the Bhagirathi River that was their lifeblood. And it's this quiet, this deep-seated connection to the land that was about to be completely, violently shattered. Okay, so this is where everything flips. The story takes a really sharp turn here. We're leaving that calm behind and going right to the moment the mountain itself, well, it just gave way. So, you might be asking what actually happened. Well, the experts are really clear on this. It was not just a cloudburst. Nope, this was something way, way more powerful. What we're talking about is a huge chunk of glacial soil and rock that just collapsed, all at once. This created an insane amount of pressure that just shot a terrifying wall of water, mud, and rock straight down the valley. And to really get your head around the scale of this, think about this one village, Dharali. An area of 20 hectares was gone, obliterated. I mean, that's like 40 football fields, just wiped off the map. When they looked at the satellite images, it was confirmed. A massive part of the village was just gone, buried. But behind all the numbers and the science, there's the real heart of this story. And that's the truly unforgettable human cost of it all. The first numbers that came out, they really only tell a tiny piece of the story. Officially, they reported maybe 4 or 5 people deceased, but so many more were simply missing. Their fate, completely unknown. And tragically, even members of the Indian Army were caught in that deluge. And numbers, they can't even begin to describe the terror. One survivor said it perfectly. We will never be able to forget that fear for the rest of our lives. That says it all, doesn't it? For the people who lived through it, this disaster isn't really over. It's a memory that's just burned into their minds forever. The devastation was just total. Think about it. For so many families, everything they had built, homes, shops, every last bit of their life savings, just washed away in minutes. They were left with literally nothing. But even in the middle of all that tragedy, the focus shifted, and it shifted fast. It shifted to action. Because when a crisis like this hits, an entire nation mobilizes to respond. Right away, a massive, coordinated rescue mission kicked into high gear. We're talking teams from the Indian Army, the NDRF and SDRF, that's the National and State Disaster Response Forces, and the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. They all descended on the area, working around the clock, just trying to save lives. But wow, the challenges they were up against were just huge. First off, roads and bridges were completely gone, so just getting to the survivors was a massive challenge in itself. Then you got this incredibly difficult mountain terrain. It made helicopter rescues super dangerous. And on top of all that, the sheer scale of it all, it just stretched every single resource to the absolute limit. So the government did move pretty quickly. The chief minister, Pushkar Singh Dhami, actually went to the sites himself to see what was happening. Some initial financial aid was given out, but to be honest, a lot of the victims felt it was just a drop in the bucket compared to what they'd lost. A committee was also put together to figure out the full extent of the damage and, map out a plan for the long road to recovery. So after the dust settles, or in this case, the mud, what's left? Well, an event like this leaves behind a really powerful, really sobering reminder, and some pretty critical lessons for all of us. When you boil it all down, these floods really show us two big truths. First, they remind us just how vulnerable we are. I mean, it's a stark reminder of our place in the face of nature's real power. But, and this is just as important, it also shows us our strength. The incredible resilience that comes out when people pull together in a crisis. So all of this really leaves us with one big question to think about. We know nature will show its incredible power again. It's inevitable. So the real question is, how do we, as communities, as just people, how do we find our own strength in those moments?